Good day to members of the media and the listening public. Economies with aging populations around the world have been presented with numerous challenges, including increased healthcare and long-term care spending, labor force shortages, declining economic activity, and old age income security. Bermuda is no different. We have a rapidly aging population, which will present a common set of challenges to those experienced worldwide. Current statistics show that demographics are working against Bermuda in terms of our total population and demographic profile. The analysis of data from Bermuda's population projections 2016 to 2026 highlights the reality of Bermuda's couples having insufficient children to replace themselves due to a decreasing number of births and increasing number of deaths. Bermuda's median age is increasing from 44.6 years to 48.6 years of age, and showing no slowing of this trend in the foreseeable future. Additionally, as life expectancy increases, in 2026, seniors 65 years and over will represent nearly 1/4 of Bermuda's population. At the same time, the age groups from 25 to 64, which is also the main working group, are expected to decline. More people aging and retiring over the coming years, coupled with the increasing life expectancy and declining birth rates, will make it difficult for employers to secure enough qualified Bermudians to fill vacant posts and likely impact the structure of our society and economy. Bermuda's aging population will have significant implications on the island's economic growth and healthcare, amongst others. Based on the population demographic trends, our current working population will be unable to support the local economy in the years to come. As a result of the strong correlation between economic growth and the demographic structure of the labor force, the anticipated decline in Bermuda's labor force due to an aging population will directly impact Bermuda's ability to maintain sustainable economic growth over the coming years. The old age dependency ratio is the ratio of the population 65 years and over to the population of 20 to 64 years. The old age dependency ratio can gauge society's capacity to maintain the quality of life of seniors. With the continuation of Bermuda's aging population trend, it is predicted that Bermuda's old age dependency ratio will be higher in 2026 than the projected OECD average. In 2017, the old age dependency ratio was 28. By 2026, it is projected to soar to 43.6. This means that in 2026, there are expected to be 44 seniors for every 100 people of working age. This measures the working age population's ability to support persons 65 years and over. The increase in the old age dependency ratio signifies that there will be increased pressure placed on the working population to support our senior population. To move Bermuda's ratio closer to the OECD average and maintain an appropriate level of economic activity, the government will need to reduce the old age dependency ratio by increasing the working population, amongst other measures. The Ministry of Economy and Labor has created a position paper entitled Addressing the Challenge of an Aging Population in Bermuda. The purpose of this paper is to state the government's position on the demographic challenge of an aging population as measured by the old age dependency ratio, and to articulate the approach it will take to reduce the ratio, primarily by increasing the working population in Bermuda. The impact of executing this approach will be sustainable economic growth and the creation of new jobs. The paper is available for review from the resource section of the Ministry of Economy and Labor on gov.bm. In support of advancing meaningful social commentary on this topic, the ministry will also be holding a roundtable discussion on Bermuda's aging population. Details will be provided in the coming weeks, but the event will be broadcasted live on the government's Facebook page, YouTube channel, and CITV. When the time comes, I encourage the people of Bermuda to tune in and listen to the discussion that is vital to the future of our country. Thank you. At this time, I'll take any questions from the media.
All right, thank you, Minister. We'll start with Jonathan Bell. Jonathan?
Thanks, Minister. Thanks for having us. With what you're talking about here, I guess I was hoping to check in with where we're at on raising the retirement age.
And so the raising of the retirement age is one labor policy option that can be utilized. Certainly, with the problem that has been highlighted, we need to maintain as much persons in our workforce as we possibly can.
But is it something that there's going to be further detail on that in the position paper? Can you say if there's anything, I guess, coming up in steps of raising the retirement age?
But I would say that the policy solutions will be something that the government, the Ministry of Economy and Labor will put to the entire government to consider. We need to ensure that the policy solutions, all stakeholders are involved in the dialogue. And what we're really doing today is stating that there is a concern and that moving forward, we'll be making a concerted effort to addressing those concerns. And so that is one policy item that we'll be looking to consider.
Righto. I had a few off-topic questions. Perhaps what I'll do is pass over to Jasmine, and then when she's done, I can maybe ask about a few other things.
Hi, good afternoon, Minister. Thanks for your statement today. I just wondered, for clarity and for the public's information basis, what are some of the consequences of having such a high ratio, according to the OECD?
So some of the consequences is increased costs within our society. We will see a slowdown of economic growth and development. We'd also see rise in healthcare costs in particular. As the way in which our healthcare system is currently structured, we need a certain level of payers within the system to maintain a stable cost for the entire population. Additional to that, we're going to need additional support for our seniors population, whether it be additional social services and social protections put in place. And we would have to fund that additional support. And so the working population is the main or the primary bulk of our taxpayers. And if you have a reduction in that population, but the expenditure of government is required to maintain a seniors population, what you're going to be asking for if we don't increase the working population is more taxes paid from those who are working within our population.
Thank you for that. Having not seen the position paper itself, but does the OECD give any recommendations in terms of specifics to counter a reduced working population?
Certainly, it's specific. It's based off of each country's economy and how it's actually structured. And so, while we will look at any considerations as it pertains to our economy, on the face of it, we want to ensure that every able-bodied person has an opportunity to work. We want to ensure that from an immigration standpoint, there are retention of Bermudians within our economy, and that we also see a level of repatriation of Bermudians who have left back into the economy. We also need to ensure that we have the appropriate levels of immigration to bring individuals in where we do have genuine labor shortages. Other than that, what we want to see is growth in terms of our current businesses, expansion of current businesses, and then an injection of new businesses within our economy that will lead to a natural level of economic growth and job creation. And then we look at other labor policy items, such as adjusting the retirement age and things of that nature. And so it's going to require a robust strategy. We have enough examples of other countries that have been grappling with the same problem as to some of the things that they're able to do. And so we'll continue that research and put a policy paper in place that will focus on the solutions to the problem. But we just want the entire population cognizant that there is a real problem that exists. And our desire to increase the working population is something that is critical at this point in time.
Given the gravity of the situation, has the government set a hard deadline on when those working population numbers need to rise?
We do set out in the position paper, based off the population projections, how much persons are needed to bring the old age dependency ratio back into alignment with the OECD average.
Just one last question. Where does Bermuda rank comparatively to similar sized jurisdictions in the Caribbean?
We focused more on developed countries than more or less comparing ourselves to Caribbean nations because the structure of the economy is much different. But what you will find is that majority of the countries will be grappling with this early age. Majority of developed countries grapple with this problem with early age dependency.
I'm sorry, if I may just add one question about the minimum and living wage. Are we still on track to see that tabled by the end of this parliamentary session, which is next month?
Yes, the first thing we will do is put framework in place for enforcement and inspections. That will be the first piece of legislation you see, and then that will be followed by an announcement with a proposed minimum wage rate.
And are most businesses been in collaboration with the development of that legislation at all?
Certainly what I'll do is we will have a separate press conference on the proposed minimum wage rate and the position that the Ministry of Economy and Labor desires to take. And I'm sure that that will be a catalyst to further dialogue with the business community on the specific rates.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Minister. Just quickly, we've got obviously Labor Day is imminent. You've been having regular meetings with the union since the issue last year over decertification. Based on those meetings, I guess, can you tell us a bit generally about how you see the state of labor relations in Bermuda at the moment?
Governments and unions that represent employees within the government, there are always going to be some level of conflict based off of the constituents that they actually represent. But I think what is seen is that there's also a common interest to work together on issues that transcend just those workplace issues and us to talk about national issues. And the dialogue that I've been having with the unions are on issues that actually transcend whatever workplace issues that they are experiencing, but talking about how we can improve working standards for workers across the board within the country.
Got you. It's been a while since we've heard anything on decertification. Does it remain a live issue, or has government and the union partners moved on, as it were, from that issue?
I think the relationship since that particular issue is healthy as pertains to the Ministry of Economy and Labor's relationship with the Bermuda Industrial Union. I would have met with the Bermuda Industrial Union this week to discuss a number of issues impacting workers within Bermuda. I think that we have agreed to disagree on that one particular issue, but we're not allowing that one particular issue to remain a barrier to progress in other areas.
Got you. Just moving on quickly, with the cost of living issue and inflation, if it continues, are you expecting government and the private sector to come under more pressure for wage increases?
I would expect greater levels of intervention as the cost of living continues to trend upwards in Bermuda. And so it's at some point in time it's going to require direct government policy intervention. You've seen that we've had a level of intervention already in terms of trying to provide relief to families and individuals within the country, whether it be through cuts in taxes, or whether it be through stipends or increasing the level of social protection that we provide. And so we're going to have to collectively work together, government and businesses, to reverse the trend of an increasing inflation rate, but overall addressing the cost of living.
Is there any concern that if wages do end up going up, I'm told that can, the two can kind of spiral into one another. As wages go up, prices can go up?
I'm not going to engage in an economic debate with persons who want to engage in theory at that level. Well, what I will say is, if prices continue to go up and the cost of living continues to go up and wages don't go up, what we're doing is we're eroding the purchasing power of workers. And then when you erode the purchasing power of workers, you're actually eroding their quality of life. And from a social justice standpoint, you want to ensure that person's purchasing power is maintained. And as a result, that will be why we will focus on working together with employers and the government will be focused on policy intervention to ensure that Bermudians and residents maintain a decent quality of life.
Got you. Just quickly, with the work permit situation, we've been hearing, at least anecdotally, of waits of 2 to 3 months. Is that correct? Or, what's the typical wait period that you're looking at? Or it's just, how's that situation?
Not for work permits. We have no backlog in work permits, and we've been processing work permits in a timely manner. Where there may be a bit of a lag is in the documentation, but persons are being informed of approvals that have been given in a very timely manner, and so there is no outstanding backlog of work permits.
Gotcha, thanks. Following with that, with the passport situation, we were looking to get to that 11-week turnover period. Have we gotten to that sweet spot with passports?
It's my intention to provide the country with a full update on passport in the coming weeks.
Got you. With the economic recovery plan, that was my last question. Just if there's any items in that vertical farming or what have you that we can expect to see coming into fruition anytime soon? We
are making significant progress as it pertains to the items underneath the economic recovery plan. The project management office has been set up in earnest. They are working day to day. And so in the coming weeks, you should be hearing some positive announcements to some projects that were announced that you haven't heard a great level of detail on in the past.
Minister, thanks. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, media. Do we have any further questions from either of you? All right, thank you all for attending and have a great day.